The fourth largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, Abu Dhabi, just purchased Bitcoin. As pointed out by James Seifert on X here, you see Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund, Mubadala Investment Company, is now the seventh largest holder of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF at $500 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, we know Bitcoin's been struggling to break out and see that next leg in the cycle. But with Abu Dhabi purchasing a Bitcoin, it's only a matter of time before the United States enters the market. Take a listen to the executive order that Donald Trump just signed.
Next, this is an executive order. Discharges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth. The people, my predecessors, we're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work, and I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together. I think Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
Now, as it currently stands, the top sovereign wealth fund in the world is going to be Norway with $1.7 trillion in assets, followed by China, SAFE, and then Abu Dhabi. So as number 4 in terms of total assets by ranking, if the United States were to enter this market, they would easily become the top sovereign wealth fund in the entire globe. Now, of course, Donald Trump instated David Sachs as the crypto czar, and here's what he had to say about the possibilities of Bitcoin being added to a sovereign wealth fund in the United States.
The Bitcoin reserve, you said that's being studied. It's one of the first things that's on the table here. What goes into that process? Is that something that would be standalone, or is that something that could potentially be tucked into, say, a sovereign wealth fund, which has been the speculation today on the heels of that executive order?
I guess it's possible that the sovereign wealth fund could decide that they want to make Bitcoin or digital assets part of its portfolio. You're going to have to ask the incoming Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, about that. The item that President Trump asked our working group on digital assets to study is whether it's feasible to create either a Bitcoin reserve or some sort of digital asset stockpile. And so we're going to be looking at that question. We haven't committed yet to doing it, but it's one of the first things we're going to be looking at.
So, of course, we need to get Howard Lutnick's perspective on Bitcoin. Is this something he holds? Is this something he sees the United States holding? And more importantly, could this be allocated to a sovereign wealth fund?
I guess the easiest way to get a clear view of where Bitcoin is going over the next 5 years is take a look at the last 5. Right? The last 5, Bitcoin has been an outsider in the finance business, but coming closer and closer and closer. Right now, there's an ETF just starting to go a little bit mainstream, maybe a toe in the water of mainstream, but banks still can't clear it. Banks still can't transact in it. Banks still can't custodian it. Banks still won't transact in it, and they won't finance it yet. I think people misunderstand traditional financial service companies. They want to transact in Bitcoin. They want new asset classes to transact in. That's just a good thing, but they need the regulator to say it's okay. Right now, today, right? If a bank were to hold your Bitcoin, they would have to set aside their own money equal to that amount in sort of like in a jail. I mean, you'd say, so, well, that's crazy. The answer is that's why they don't hold it. But if you let them hold it, if the regulatory environment was good, you will see all the traditional financial service companies, the big banks, the big brokerage companies, they're all going to go headfirst into Bitcoin. That's what's going to happen, and it's coming. It's a slow, steady process. But eventually there's going to be a CFTC chair who says, you know what? Bitcoin is a financial asset, and we're going to treat it as such. And when that happens, you're going to see Bitcoin move in a very, very strong, positive direction. So that's why I'm a fan of Bitcoin. It's going to go much higher. It always bounces around like any other financial asset, but ultimately over the next 5 years, as it gets invited into this party, up we go.
And that, of course, was Howard Lutnick, now in charge of our commerce and developing this sovereign wealth fund with Scott Bessent. He also holds billions of dollars in Bitcoin. So this is it. This is the moment. You guys are wondering why Bitcoin has been consolidating in this crazy channel for months and months and months at a time, is because you are seeing the world's largest wealth funds come into play. They want Bitcoin cheap. And right now, Bitcoin, believe it or not, is cheap in all things comparison to what's going to take place over the course of the next 5 years. So get ready, strap in, and get ready to see a sovereign wealth fund in the United States not only look into Bitcoin, but start accumulating more than Abu Dhabi.